Okay, well, I started to wire this thing up and make sure that I know what these stray wires are. So these are your injector power source. This is your signal back from the blue plug on the PCM, pin 9, going to your check engine light in the dash. And I need to check this white wire right here. I'm assuming this is your constant ignition power to your ignition coil. So I got to check this really quick, and if that's correct, I'll label this wire, and I have to extend these out so that way they're long enough to use. And I'll probably just use this harness as a test harness when I check these engines out. So it looks like that's your ignition power constant for the coil itself. So that takes care of that. I'm going to go ahead and get some connectors and some switches and stuff together and get this all set up so that way I can try to fire the engine up. Other than the wiring and the fuel system, it's pretty much almost ready. I'll get back to it here in a minute. I'm starting to figure out the wiring a little bit here. I still have to figure out exactly what to do with this white wire. It goes to the center pin on the coil. I may as well just energize it and then see what that does. If there's no resistance from this one to a hot, that would mean that it's already a hot. So it would just go to hot. That wouldn't make any sense. Then you got your 86 and 87 on these. They nipped the wire right up against the thing. I had to unpin it and repair that. And then this is like your ignition power source that supplies the ECM. So all you have to do is just run a hot to this here, and then that's what's going to power on the PCM. Got the starter mounted up, flex plate, got the trigger switch. I'll get this stuff all wired up. It might take a little bit. Should work out okay, I hope. Now I haven't gotten the fuel pump quite finished yet, and it didn't seem like it wanted to turn on for some reason. I'm gonna have to figure out what's going on with that relay, which I could probably run the fuel pump in a different way anyhow. I've got my jumpers going here, jumper cables. I got the one-man switch there, and then we got USB communications with the PCM, and then I've just selected COM9. I put in my notes that COM9 was the port that works with this FTDI adapter. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna try and see if it'll read the calibration really quick, and if it doesn't work, I'll have to do something else. But usually what would happen is it'll connect. It says the bus is silent. It wouldn't work, so I'm gonna have to figure something out. I read something the other day about a different type of a file it takes for the Y body. So I'm gonna look into this and see what I can do. Now the next thing that I tried, actually tried two things. I tried to put it in a different port, so it may not work, but I switched my communication, my RX and TX, and my ground around to where the black wire was matched with the black, because the black is the wire that goes directly to the ground on the FTDI adapter. RX and TX are tied together. So that's how it works in binary. I can try this port one time and then maybe try to change it. Thing's been powered on for like 10 minutes or something like that. So I can try to read again. That didn't work. So what we do is put it back to where it was. Test that. Make sure that we choose COM9. I just always make sure it works on COM9 because that was the one that worked, and I put it in my notes. I'm pretty sure that was the rear one. Let's see if this one works. See if it'll read. Nothing. Well, I'll have to try something else. I'm missing something. I'll eventually get it figured out. Okay, just in case I gotta show somebody, if I post this, this is what I get when I'm not plugged into the laptop. PCM is powered on. I've got a battery charger on the battery. That's what I have on the chip. Black and gray wire. And then the black is going into the black, and the gray is going to the brown. Just like that. However, it's still not able to connect to Flash Hack or EE Hack. I got to figure out how to get this thing to work. Well, it basically looks like every starter I have is pretty much trash. I wasn't able to get it to communicate. What I did though is I cut power for a little bit because maybe somehow the way that I had it hooked up, something happened where it wasn't able to read, so I powered it down. I may try again a little bit. But yeah, without a starter, I'm not going to be able to really get it running. And then I was messing with this fuel pump here. It doesn't seem quite the best either, so what I may do is actually get one of these in-tank pumps out that I have, buy some good hose, and then do a little bit more research, check on my post and see if anybody had any input on what all I really had to do to read this Y body. So I've never done one of these before. I've done F body. They seem to read all right the way I have it configured, but for some reason it wasn't wanting to read. Hopefully I'll get it working pretty soon though. Alright, I haven't quit, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this presentation and then move on to the next phase of development. Obviously I can't get the thing started tonight, so I'll probably go to the parts store in the morning and get a few essential items that I need. And then it would be nice to actually set up a legitimate little panel and an actual run stand to test some different engines and stuff like that, typically small block Chevys. But we'll get back to you the next time, and if anybody has any kind of input or any kind of advice on working with a Y body, that would be much appreciated. Thanks.